Hello and welcome to Off Track, powered by Rich Energy. I'm your host, Dave Neal, and hello from the Isle of Man, from the TT paddock up by the grandstand. We've got two great chats for you to set off TT week. We've got Craig Neve and we've got Josh Daley. Both great fellas, both great chats. We'll be following up with them next week as well to see how the racing's gone, but in the meantime, sit back and relax and have a listen to Craig Neve and Josh Daley. Enjoy! Well, sometimes we get to do podcasts in really cool places, and to be honest, there are few cooler places than sat in the back of Craig Neve Racing's big workshop van. It's not Luton, is it? It's bigger than a Luton, Craig, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit bigger. 18 tonne this.
18 ton? Yeah. 18 tonne? That's a fair old size. Yeah. We've got kit and bikes and everything around us. We're sat on the Isle of Man and we're looking out over Douglas Bay. Craig Neve, there's worse places to be, mate. Yeah,
for sure. And it's mega to be back, Isle of Man TT. Weather's good. Everyone's smiling. Loads of laps at the moment. So, and the forecast looks good moving forward into the week. So, yeah, there's definitely worse places to be for sure.
There is. Last time we did this, we were at Alton Park in the back of the very same van.
Yeah, we was. Yeah.
Doing the short circuit stuff. But, mate, the roads are back. How cool is that?
Mega, roads are back. The short circuits have been good, and they are good. Racing anywhere, to be fair. But hey, nothing compares to this, does it?
It doesn't. And we've started off at the Northwest. Weather conditions were a little bit different there, weren't they? Talk us through the Northwest. How was it for you, mate?
A little bit emotional for one side of things. Obviously, the big accident in 19, which maybe could have finished me off, to be fair. But we come back, and I was keen to get back. Obviously, we've had the layoff for the last couple of years. Everyone has had that. I was keen to get back, and it's one of them. You always think to yourself, do I need to be here before the TT, or is it a little bit of a hindrance? We're wearing engines out, but we want to get up to speed, and obviously taking a bit of risk. So, how was it for me? Yeah, it was okay. We had a good, we got up to speed again. We had a couple of issues up like everybody, and we made sure, we made the most of them issues and put things right for coming here and moving forward. So yeah, it was a good Northwest. We had a couple of top tens. I think we was 8th or 9th in that last Superbike race, which obviously was overshadowed by what went on with the Dunlop tyres and things like that. But yeah, for me it was okay. Fastest ever lap I've done round there on the big bike. So I'm moving forward. So I was happy enough with that.
Talk to me about the first night, because it's the first chance that you boys have had, and the girls that were at the Northwest as well. It's the first chance you've had to really stretch the legs on the bikes, on the roads. So tell me about that first, because it was my first time out of the Northwest, as the listeners know. And just tell me about that first time through station as you come out of Port Stewart and you're running through station for the first time.
Yeah, it's what was we out on first? I think we were straight out on the big bikes, actually. Was that right? Is that right? Yeah. And I remember just going through thinking, did I do that in flat last time? And it's a bit like that here, though. It's like, it was flat in top round there. You sure? You know what I mean? But it's like, bloody. But hey, a couple of laps later, and it's all a distant memory, and mega. And then, like you say, before you know it, you're on the approach to university, and you're back in top gear behind the screen, and you're just looking for them flags on your left as your braking marker, and it's like, we're back, and it's soon, you soon get yourself up to speed, and everyone's back on it again.
Has it kind of felt like you've never been away now? We're back doing it.
Yeah.
Is it all a bit of a distant memory?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the last, what it's like, the run up to the TT, it seems to go in a massive blur, and them last few years have gone in a little bit of a blur now. Although I've been doing a bit of BSB stuff, I've always sort of just been waiting for the road. It's like, bloody hell, we're back this year. So, and here we are, we're back.
It's mint, and like we were saying beforehand, everybody's happy. Everybody's pleased to be back. There's a lot of faces we've not seen for the best part of 3 years before the Northwest. So it's rekindling friendships, getting used to it. The attention paddock comes on, and it's kind of good to be home. It feels like.
Yeah, absolutely. You still get that flutter, don't you, when the attention paddock goes off and you hear the bing bong, and it's like, we're back. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah,
bikes 1 to 20 up to the start line, please.
Yeah, and and luckily this year, we're seeded this year, so I'm going off number 20. So it's good because I can get away with the really fast guys, and hopefully, I can learn as much as I can learn. We're going out with Dave O'Johnson in the car, surely, just to sort of take a little bit, and if I can just take a little bit. I did one with Hickey yesterday, and he's mega, to be fair, because it's just every little detail he's got it covered, and I just think, wow, it's impressive, isn't it? It's impressive, and Davo, 132 man himself, it's just, I just try and get a little bit off everybody if I can, just to help, if you can help me 1-2 corners, you just try and get every little bit you can, don't you?
It's just being a sponge, isn't it? It's soaking
Absolutely.
up as much as you can, and it's the age-old thing of 2 ears and 1 mouth, and just listen twice as much as you speak, especially when you're with those guys, because just everybody's still learning, even they don't know everything.
Yeah.
But with the experience that Hickey's got, and certainly Davo, who unfortunately, as the listeners know, is out of action this fortnight from his crash at Alton Park. But I think he's making a fortune on taxi ride. I'm sure he's got a meter in that BMW. It's not going to be free.
I bet he has. He gets paid in Jack Daniels and Coke, I think. Yeah.
Oh, you've seen that as well. Have you seen the invoices?
Yeah.
It keeps him going.
It does, mate.
What's the first few laps been like around the island then, Craig?
Yeah, and again, similar to the Northwest, he's like, oh, bloody hell, this is fast, again, maybe a little bit of a mistake on my behalf, because we've gone for the new BM. I've been riding on the S model throughout the season, and I turned up with a brand new M, and maybe it was a bit of a mistake because I'm also having to learn the new bike as well as relearn the circuit. First couple of still now feeling a little bit like a novice, but we're really lucky we've got the weather, and I can just keep building at my speed. But yeah, the first few laps, first few nights, they've been good. I mean, first night got 6 laps in. I was disappointed with what lap times I was doing, but yeah, there's plenty. It's race week next week, so. You just got to be mindful of that, and hopefully we can keep moving forward. Luckily, we're okay on fuel and things like that at the moment, so we haven't had too many problems. The bikes have all kept going, and the key thing is laps. Well, for me certainly, I always feel like I need to do more laps than anybody else. I always feel like that, but yeah. So and the weather looks good tonight, so hope it's the same.
The reliability is key, isn't it? And it's the old Maverick Vinales thing. Nobody wins anything in free practice and qualifying. No. So we've got 6 sessions, haven't we? Sunday through to Friday. So Friday afternoon, we've got a little bit more time. As you say, touch wood. The old weather's been fantastic so far. What's been the biggest? What's put the biggest smile on your face while you've been back? While you've been out on the course on the bike?
Hey, when you approach Balagiri, top gear, you're just looking for their mirrors on the left hand side. I close the gas, go back one. It's just like you can just pick the gas up so hard and early. And you're just driving through there in 5th gear so fast, and you're just like, wow, this is mint. And then you're back behind the screen again. It's like Crosby's coming up left, you're flat behind the bubble. Just keep it pinned, and it's like, wow, this it's just mega, innit? And when we got us under the red flags the other night, I was stopping Michael Rutten, who was just chatting, and I just said, like, it's amazing. We were so lucky we get to do this, aren't we? When you think about, only not a few people, but not many people know what it is actually like, and it's as you can tell now, it's very difficult to put it into words what it is actually like riding around this place. It is. Wow.
It's emotional, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100%. It is, especially at the end of a 6 lapper, and still I'm thinking, bloody hell, how are we going to finish 6 laps? 2 pit stops is a long way, and it's a long way. But,
2 hours and whatever, for 6.
I think it'll be about 3 hours the speed I'm doing at the moment. It is emotional, when you get to the end, and like you say, it's emotional for me as well as the mechanics, because they've got a lot of stress. Obviously, they've got to do the pit stop, and they've got to do the rear wheel, and they've got to do all that sort of thing, and just while you catch your breath and change your visor. Yeah, exactly.
Gather your thoughts and away again.
Catch your breath and then you're away again. It's like, bloody hell, yeah. But yeah, it's emotional because you get to the end of them 6 lappers, you come in and you see the boys, regardless of where you finished, everyone's happy that, we've gone the distance, you know what I mean? Because it's the ultimate test of man and machine, I suppose, as they say, So, if you've got any little problems with your bikes, this big 6 lapper will find them,
Absolutely, it will. And some of the listeners that are tuning in, I put something on the social media. I think it might have been yesterday. I managed to get a set of photographs from ahead of the start line. So you got your man on the start line with his hand on your shoulder. For me, that epitomises everything about the TT, because it comes across to me, and I don't know if it does to other people and people who are watching and from the sidelines and everything else, it's not just the signal to go, but there seems a little bit of reassurance in it as well. I don't know whether that's just me being a bit overly sensitive to it, or
Yeah,
the tap on the shoulder. There seems to be a bit of reassurance. Go on, son.
Yeah, that's what's the word? Exclusive to the TT, innit? If you like, nothing like that, is it?
No.
Anyway, you don't do anything like that. Yeah, it's.
It gives me goosebumps, that bit.
Yeah, it's and you do when you get that touch. You're like, oh, you sat there, sort of, just ready, clutch on biting point. It's like, and then you're away, and it's like, I'm off. That's it. Mint, and you just pinned until you get to Quarter Bridge. Mega.
Which must be just incredible. And you through St Ninians and down the hill. We went down the hill yesterday, and it's the first time I've been back. Well, I've only been once. That was 2018. We did a lap in the car with the photographer Tony Goldsmith and the journo Steve English, and we went down yesterday with James in the van, and I had completely forgotten how steep Bray Hill is. Yeah. I was just like, oh my God, because it does flatten it out on the TV completely.
100%, yeah.
But it is, for want of a better word, it's a precipice.
Yeah.
Absolutely surprised me yesterday. Yeah. Completely forgot.
And when it's so steep, and like you say, when you get to the traffic lights and you get the big compression, just before you're in top gear anyway behind the screen, and it's still accelerating because it's that steep downhill. So breathtaking.
It's just incredible. Yeah. And I remember we were talking a couple of days ago, weren't we? At the Northwest. I mean, I've always been a short circuit man. Just through the years, I'd never had the opportunity for the TT till 18, and it was my first Northwest 3 weeks ago. I remember standing at the gate at the end of the start line. So you guys were all going round. You came through the flip-flop from the finish line. Do the right, do the left, out to the curb, and then away off down the hill. Mm-hmm. You were on your own. You came through, and watching you from behind change direction and disappear off down the road, Jennifer looked at me and went, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "No, I don't think I am." I had goosebumps, and I actually welled up watching you head off down there, mate. It's just incredible.
Thank you.
Well, it really did. It hit home, and it's just like, this is incredible. What's it like for you on the bike going down there and heading off down to what's down there? Heading off down towards
Coast Road.
You're on the Coast Road down to York Corner.
Well, just thinking, bloody hell, it's tight through this little flip flop off the chicane. It's so tight through there, but you get through there and you just have a quick look on my pit board, and I'm sort of back behind the screen, if you like, and then just your third, fourth gear through the first, right back to third for the second, left. And I'm just thinking, and then I've got to pin it until I get to York Corner, back behind the screen on the stop, But it's a mega piece of track in it when you think about it.
What you don't often get a chance to watch from that angle for any racing anywhere. So it's quite a privilege to stand there and see it from behind. It just suddenly went, oh, senior man, let's just have a minute.
Mate. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
What your it's difficult to come here and have expectations.
Yeah, for sure.
But in your own, for personal goals, what we're looking at. For you, Craig?
Next, I thought coming here that I'd done. Maybe now I'm feeling like I've maybe underprepared, but coming here, I've still got a little bit of problem with my humerus that I broke. Injuries sort of extending to the shoulder, my left shoulder blade. So now I'm thinking, hey, I've done everything I could do in the winter regarding rehab, and I felt as though I couldn't do any more. But the little aches and pains you get on the bike, you're thinking, have you done enough? Have you? I suppose only yourself you truly know. And then I'm thinking, because of the time it's taking me to get up to speed at the moment, have I done enough homework with the circuit? Have I kept things fresh? And again, I think I have, but just because things have took a little bit longer, you start to think, well, have I really? But
there's a lot of people in the same boat, mate.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
It's not just you.
No, I know.
Definitely not.
I know.
But you can only speak for you.
Absolutely. I know what you're saying.
There's a little bit of reassurance. There's an awful lot of people in the same boat because, as we said before, you've turned up with the M after time on the S. We've had 3 years away, but also in terms of the injury. Until you get back to you cannot replicate this or the Northwest anywhere else.
Yeah,
so there's bound to be things that will crop up.
I tell you what, I did struggle. Really did. Not so much at the Northwest until the end when we did the 7-lap Superbike race at the end.
Yeah,
and I did struggle there with that but up until then was okay, and maybe just a little bit longer on the bike, or the fatigue of Saturday's a long race day, Saturday, isn't it? So but yeah, so but yeah, back to expectations for this season, for this year. I mean, I did in 2018. The last time I was here, I did 27.5. So, hey, I'd love to be in a 130 club this year. That would be amazing. But I can only do what I can do, and if the job feels right, that would be amazing. And if we can pick up some top tens along the way, that would be a fantastic year for me.
You got a good tight crew behind you as well, haven't you?
For sure,
The super experienced Mark Hanna's behind you, and the crew that you've got. You've got all the tools at your at your disposal. So I don't see why there wouldn't be any reason why you couldn't achieve and they're realistic goals as well. You're not turning up saying, right, I'm going to sit on the podium.
Yeah, that's it. You've got to be
realistic in what you do.
That would be amazing, but you've got to be realistic. I'm not ready, and I'm not at the level that them guys are at the moment. I would love to be one day, but we've just got to keep working forward and working hard and improving, in all the areas. The guys who are working with me this year, it's probably the best group of mechanics I've had, and I trust them guys with everything they're doing. They always do a fantastic job on my bikes, and we don't have many DNFs, touch wood.
Do it.
Touch wood, we don't have many, and certainly we don't have many silly issues. So I think you need to have that kind of confidence, especially racing at places like here in the Northwest.
Going forward, are we staying on the short circuits for the rest of the season when we see you back out in Stock 1000 and Ducati Cup?
Yeah, I'd love to. I would. I really want to come back to BSB and do a better job than I have done leading up to the Northwest. Don't get me wrong, it's not through being lack of trying. Maybe I just haven't found the limit because I've been worried about, like in 19, missing the TT, maybe. But it's one of them, innit? Catch 22, if you like. You need to. You look at what Pete and Dean are doing. They're riding at British. They're on it big time. They're doing a mega job, and you think, well, them boys are at the front of a TT. So you've got to go to British and ride it, and just keep as sharp as you can. But then obviously you're risking injury because you're on the limit. So it's difficult. It's difficult. I'd love to. But I've always said to the guys who are involved with me, I said it's a bit of a two-part season. We put all our eggs in one basket. We do the TT, spend everything we've got, making sure we do a good job, leaving no stone unturned, and then if there's anything left in the pot, I've got to go back to work after this and just get stuck in again, get caught up, and then hopefully, obviously Cadwell BSB, that's our big, obviously my local,
of course it is.
Local, it's our biggest meeting, and we had a good result there in the Ducati Cup last year, and I'd love to come back for that, but it clashes with the Classic TT this year, so obviously we're back on Bank Holiday Monday now, so and I think the Classic Superbike race is Bank Holiday Monday, so I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do at the moment. Obviously I've got a really good, really competitive bike for the Classic, the 750. Obviously my teammate Dave won it last year. It really is a fantastic piece of kit, 1992 ZXR 750, so I don't know at the minute. That's a bit of a bummer for me because obviously I love Cadwell BSB, but all the other circuits, there's loads of good stuff coming up. Obviously Thruxton's coming up. We certainly won't be going to Knockhill. That'll be the one after the TT, just because it's just a little bit too close to me. I need to get back and I need to get
work to do.
Got work to do,
washing to do, and get everything.
I miss my baby. I've got to catch up with my son Rocco and spend a little bit of time with him and Steph, and I just hope we can finish here, do a really good senior, and then hopefully things will maybe start to happen for me. A few doors maybe open, I don't know, and we can just move forward and start. When we come from here, we want to start planning the TT for next year. Just look at areas I can be better, and the team can be better, the bikes can be better again. So that's the plan. To answer your question properly, I'd love to come back to BSB, but we'll have to see.
Let's wait and see. Yeah. It all comes down to finances and availability and everything else, doesn't it? Same as ever.
Yeah.
Craig Neve, fast and safe for the rest of the week and for race week, mate. Thanks for your time. Enjoy your lap with Davo, and we'll catch up soon.
See you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Well, let's carry on the chats. We're sat outside the Rich Club. We're in the TT paddock, looking out over I nearly said notorious then. The famous grandstand on the Glen Crutchley Road, and to my left is the Irish Sea and Douglas Bay, but also to my left, Josh Daley Racing. Welcome to Off Track, mate.
Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome to the Isle of Man. Welcome back. This is cool, isn't it?
Yeah, perfect weather as well. At least it's not raining.
I'm not sure about this cloud cover. I'm feeling a little bit of the chill. And when I got the kit outside and we were going to sit here in the sunshine and burn to a crisp, it's kind of gone over a little bit. But it's not been a bad week so far, has it?
Yeah, it's been perfect weather-wise, really. Bit of rain during the day, but then obviously it dries up by the time we're going out on the bike. So that's what we want. That's what we're here for.
It's exactly what it is. And it's not your first rodeo. You've been here. What's this now? Third time?
Fifth TT.
Fifth TT?
Yeah, my first TT was 2016.
So it was 16. I was thinking it was 18. That's when that was my first TT, was 18.
Yeah.
So from that point of view. So okay, we'll come on to that shortly then. Let's wind it back. Let's ask the first question. How did it all start?
My dad used to race motorbikes. He actually broke his hand the day before I was due to be born at Aintree. He high-sided coming out of one of the corners, so when my mum was in labour with me, he was robbing the gas and air off my mum. Obviously in pain with his hand. So I was probably 3 days old when I sat on my first ever race bike, because I think it was Carl Rennie who was coming over to a Manx Grand Prix. He was loading the truck up to come over, loading the van to come over. It was vans back then. So yeah, 3 days old, sat on a race bike. That bike was ready to come over here, so I was pretty much born to do it, should I say.
One thing that just occurred to me then, and when you said that your dad had crashed, where did your dad crash?
Aintree.
Do you know what corner?
Coming out of I think it's Village. Is it second corner?
So it was just a thought. You know, like David Beckham, he named his son Brooklyn, didn't he?
Yeah.
You could have been called Village.
Yeah. I'm glad I wasn't.
That's where I crashed and my son's born, so we're going to call him either Aintree or Village, whichever. Yeah. just a thought that's occurred to me, that's all. That's how my mind works when I'm doing these things. You're talking, I'm thinking of other things.
Yeah.
So when did you first race? When was the first step into racing?
I was 8 years old. So my dad bought me a Pee-wee 50 when I was 4 years old. So Christmas Day on my fourth year on this planet, and I was riding a motorbike. So 4 years old, obsessed with bikes, and then started racing when I was 8 on mini motos. Started at a club called Lucky Devils, and just went from a 4.2 onto the production bike. Getting faster bikes, and then I went on to Metro Kits with Fab Racing. Obviously they're doing quite a bit now as well.
Yeah, they are. That's a proving ground for a lot of riders as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're in. So of your class of who was in your class of that year 3 Metro Kit?
Brad Ray, Kyle Ride, Fraser Rogers was on Metro Kits as well.
Yeah,
but I think he was like when we was on 70s, he was on the 80s.
Yeah, he's a couple of years older, isn't he?
Yeah.
In that respect.
Yeah.
And unfortunately not racing as we know at the minute, but hopefully he'll be back. He's too good a talent not to be on the bikes.
Yeah.
So that's some alumni for that year, isn't it? It's like when you look back at Super Teens and people are racing with Chaz Davies and Casey Stoner. Look at the guys around you and what they're doing now, and then you take a slightly different route. Why the switch to road racing from, say, where the boys are now, at like whether it's Supersport, Stock 1000, British Superbikes?
Just what I've always wanted to do. So on the mini motos, everybody's dream was to be the next Valentino Rossi. I was never interested in that. And when I was 8 and 9 years old, like when I first started racing, my dad sat me down and he was stern but fair with me. He said, "You're never going to make it to MotoGP. We've not got the money back in for it. As talented as you may be, there's a lot of money that needs to come from it as well." So I'd always been watching TT documentaries on the PlayStation 2. I was playing the TT game constantly, and I was always watching like the Joey Dunlop and David Jeffries documentaries, and I always wanted to do the TT. And it's quite funny because on the day of my first ever race, you know the memories on Facebook?
Yeah.
I put a status on in 2010 saying, "Watching TT 2010, can't wait till I'm doing this." And my dad was the first comment on that saying, "Forget it." Because he was always against it, but he realised how passionate I was for wanting to do
against
road
it, but steering you, but saying, you know, if you're going racing, we're going road racing.
Yeah.
But you're not, kind of thing.
Yeah. He obviously, he was just protective of me.
100%.
Obviously. And then he always said, forget it because of how dangerous it is. But he knew how passionate I was about doing it, and he said, right, if we are going to go and do it, we're doing it for the right reasons. Doesn't bother me if I don't make any money, or if I'm spending a lot of money to be here. If I was spending £10,000 to be here, I'd spend £10,000 to be here. If I was making money out of it, I'm still getting the same buzz out of it.
And that's the thing that, in essence, money can't buy.
Yeah.
And it is in the grand scheme of things, in the world of motorcycle racing, how many motorcycle racers there are across the world. This is a niche within a niche.
Yeah.
This is special.
Yeah.
So tell me about your first visit. How did you build into doing the TT? Did you do the Manx first? Do you have to qualify through the Manx? And what was the route into doing your first lineup on the Glen Crutchley Road?
2013, I did Superstock 600 at BSB. Then I moved up to the Supersport class. So I was Supersport 2014, 15, 16. And the only reason I didn't go to a Manx was because I'd rather... Absolutely nothing against the Manx, but for me personally, I wouldn't want to be sat on a newcomer's grid, having be as inexperienced as a newcomer is around here after 5-10 laps of practice, sat on the grid of a race thinking I could win this, and pushing. I'm glad the way I did it, where I started off, I think it was started 53rd in my first ever TT, and I was just focusing on myself and building on myself.
So, the one thing that sticks in my mind, and we've just had a chat with Craig Neve, and I adore short circuit racing. I've grown up with it. I'm old enough to remember Cadwell in the late 70s. I know I don't look it, thanks mate. But that's until 2018. That's all I knew until I came here, and I still don't know what I feel about it. It's a weird place for so many different levels. What was it like for you when you first came?
It's a whole different sort of buzz. So I do still enjoy circuit racing, and I love doing the no limits endurance racing, but the road racing for me is where I get the biggest buzz and the biggest satisfaction out of my riding, basically. And it's
so when you did you come over as a punter before the race? Did you experience it as a punter before you raced?
When my dad was still sort of against it, he brought me over in 2013.
Okay.
Thinking, oh, it'll scare him this.
We'll scare him into not doing it.
He took me to Aggo's Leap on the first time, and the first bike came past, travelling Marshall, and then I think McGuinness was setting off number one that year. Whoever it was who came past number one anyway.
It's you. He was number one for a while, wasn't it? Yeah. So it's likely.
Yeah. The first bike came past and I turned to my dad and said, can't wait till I'm doing this. And he was like, oh, that didn't really work.
Well, it is. That's what it's going to do. It's either going to turn you against it or just it's going to fuel the fire.
Yeah.
So it fueled the fire. And then, so what was that, 3 years later?
Yeah.
You sat up on the Glen Crutchley Road, 150 yards to our right. What was that like? Tell us about that. Can you remember the feeling? Could you be in the moment, or were you just too busy focusing on what you were doing?
Well, I did my speed control lap behind Bruce Anstey. So obviously Bruce is another one of them that I've been watching growing up.
Yeah.
So that was a really good thing for me. We set off down Glen Crutchley Road, and then got to top of St Ninians, and I didn't roll off on my first newcomer's lap. I was thinking, this is like really fast. It felt like somebody had stuck 1,000 engine into my 600.
Yeah.
Because obviously I was only on the 600 that year.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But just holding a bike flat out for that long, it's different to what you get on short circuits. I think the longest you keep a bike flat out short circuits is probably Snetterton, and you are getting up to a top speed, but you're up to the top speed and then on the brakes again.
Whereas it literally second and a half, and then all of a sudden you're straight onto the brakes and you're turning in. You're getting up to your top speed and you're holding it at that top speed for a fair few seconds, and then you're not braking hard, you're just rolling off and back a gear and then back on the throttle again and carrying a lot of corner speed through the corners. Sounds like Balagary.
Yeah.
I'm learning my way around slowly but surely. I can't tell you the names of every corner, and we did a lap with James in the van yesterday. I still feel a bit queasy from that, going over the mountain. I'm not the best passenger in the world, but that was just something completely different. How do you learn where the circuit goes? Do you come over and do car laps? I know, because you're still working full-time for a living. You're not a professional rider. You're Josh Daley Racing.
Yeah.
It's your own funded team with the help of your loyal sponsors and people chipping in. How do you prepare yourself for TT Fortnight?
Probably, I think it was 13 or 14 months before my first ever TT. I was coming over doing laps in a hire car, showing my interest to Paul Phillips and his team, and said, I'm serious about this, I want to do this. And Manx Grand Prix 2015, I got a foot passenger over for a weekend just so I could see how the pit lane works. I didn't have any transport then, I didn't pass my driving test, but I was just wandering around as a foot passenger and just seeing how it all works inside the paddock. Obviously I'd done a few laps in a hire car, and just a few more weekends doing that. I think I did about 85 laps in a hire car before my first ever bike, which I think doing the laps in a car and watching onboards is crucial for knowing where it goes left and right. But the biggest difference for me was using both sides of the road when you get on the bike. And so all these corners that you're coming up to, you have better vision through them or worse vision through them. Like, you get a whole different perspective of what the track actually is when you're on the bike and you are going as fast as what you are.
Tell me about so you do your speed control lap as every newcomer does. Glenn Irwin did it on Sunday, and all the newcomers that came through. Tell me what you can remember about your first flying lap on the 600, your first actual competitive lap.
I definitely rolled for St. Ninians. But I think by the end of the first night I was up to about 104 mile an hour, I think it was. Just slow progress throughout the 2 weeks. At the end of my first TT I was up to 114 and a half.
Percentage terms, that's not bad at all.
No, but it was just building, and obviously the TT was my first ever road race as well, so I was having to learn what racing on the roads is all about, as well as the track, as well as all the bumps. I've never known anything so bumpy.
We went through yesterday. There's I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember where it is. But in fact, it's quite bumpy. Did you say going into Braddon? There's a little bit of loose tarmac on the way in there. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And a way out towards Crosby, and that way there's some fairly K-trees. Through K-trees, it's quite bumpy through there. And then all of a sudden, it drops straight onto smooth tarmac.
Yeah. And
James was saying yesterday, he said that you're literally just holding your breath through that whole K-tree section, and then you drop onto the Axminster carpet and you're away.
Yeah.
The difference, he said, is incredible.
Yeah.
What's it like for you from your perspective?
As you come through K-tree, it is like really, really bumpy, and then you go through the right, and then it goes to smooth tarmac where it has been resurfaced. Left, right, and then as you come out that next right, it goes bumpy again for the next sort of half a mile up until you get into like Parliament Square.
So is that something as well? Because I guess it's not too difficult to know which way the circuit goes and which bend's coming up next, and as Guy Martin said, joining the dots for each corner. But adapting to the road surface changes and the bumps that are there and little undulations and dips and things like that, for me that's where the real experience comes in, and is only learned by lap after lap after lap. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, so you sort of prepare yourself when you are coming into the bumpy sections, like all the way through from Ginger all through to Ramsey. You pretty much stood up all the way through there, motocross style, not putting too much weight through the seat or anything like that, and just trying to let the bike do what it wants and move wherever it needs to move to. And there's a lot of crests which on a 600 it's not too bad, but on 1,000 you're approaching them and you're on the back brake and giving it a bit of a roll in anticipation for the bike jumping or wheeling. So there's a lot of knowledge needs to come from what's coming up next.
And in terms of that knowledge from where you... Well, what age are you now?
25.
You're 25. I was going to say 24, so I was going to knock a year off.
That's not too bad.
I wasn't going to go higher.
Yeah.
I knew it was sort of your mid-20s.
Yeah.
So you're still, even though this is your 5th TT, you're still in the learning stage, big time. And I think there's so much more to come from you and the bike as well. What are you looking to, for these next couple of weeks, what are you looking to improve on now? What's next on the schedule for you?
Just building on my own experience, really. Trying to get the best setup I can. We bought the ZX10 off Bournemouth Kawasaki, which is like the hillier road, in 2019. So Phil Biggs has helped us massively with the suspension settings, and I went and shook his hand yesterday after that session, because when I came back in, my first lap was 118, the second lap was 119.9, and it didn't feel effortless, but it felt easier
which is a start.
Yeah, it felt easier than what 119 mile an hour felt in 2019. So just them big suspension changes, which without Phil advising us, we wouldn't have done.
So for anybody listening, for the guys listening in, Phil Biggs is James Healy's crew chief.
Yeah.
He's with the Rich Energy OMG Racing Yamaha team this year, with James again, with Dale Extance, Al Gregory. He's got his nucleus of a team around him. But he actually, and I was going to mention that because I was sort of stood there yesterday and I thought that was, it summed you up as a person and what you're about, that you came over to the garage and shook his hand and said thank you. And I thought that just made me smile. It's like, that's the kind of attitude, that's the TT summed up, and you as a person.
The TT paddock is amazing. Everybody will help everybody out, and nobody wants to see anybody struggle around here. I'm not the most experienced person around here, but if somebody asks me, how do you take this, I'll tell them. There's no secrets.
No.
Even if you was to, if I was to go and ask John what he was doing, John McGuinness, and ask him for advice, he'd sit down and tell me.
Yeah.
If I was to ask, say, Dean Harrison, he'd help. Everybody sort of helps each other out, and that's what is amazing about the road racing paddock and the TT paddock.
It is a big camaraderie, isn't it? It's because in BSB, where people are looking for tents here and tents there, they're all closely guarded secrets. By talking to John McGuinness for 10 minutes or Dean Harrison for 15, you're not all of a sudden going to bang in a 135. But for you, for your personal goals, that advice is invaluable.
Yeah, that little bit of advice could take the likes of me from 120 to 121, or say Dom, he could bring him into 130s.
Still my favourite question.
Yeah.
Have you done a 130 lap yet? Is he 129.9 or something like that?
So, yeah.
And I didn't even realise at the time. I just got it into my head he'd done a 130, and then his face dropped. What are you saying?
Yeah.
Bless him. You did the Northwest this year.
Yes.
How cool was that? Did you enjoy it?
First year at the Northwest, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Even enjoyed the wet race on Thursday. I had a lot of fun in that race.
What's the main differences?
The Northwest, we have date logging on what we class as a super bike.
Yeah.
And from coming out of Mill Road roundabout, I didn't shut the throttle for 23 seconds, which on 1,000 is a long time to be 100% throttle.
So that's Mill Road roundabout. That's all the way down Station Road, through Station Corner, all the way down the straight, and you're not shutting off until your braking point for University.
Yeah.
It beggars belief.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't get a chance to watch. We were out there as well. We saw you out there. Unfortunately, I saw everything from the paddock, so I didn't get a chance to experience what it's like out the back of the circuit. And I will make sure that if whether we go back as a team next year or not, that's up to the gaffers. But even if we don't, I'm going back, and I'm going to watch from out on the circuit somewhere. Yeah. Because we got a couple of videos come back of the guys from Station, and Brad and Kyle were up. Have you seen the videos of Brad and Kyle?
I've not seen them, no.
Okay, they were up at a place called Oregon B&B, which is the very last big house on the right before you come out of Port Rush, before you go down to station and start to tip in.
Yeah.
And the look on their face, I gave them the GoPro and said, boys, just go and film your reaction for me. Let me know what you think. And Brad's reaction to the Supersport boys going past, I think we're up to something like 24,500 plays on TikTok. And for a little account that we've got, his face was an absolute picture.
Yeah.
And it just, talking to Craig Neve earlier about it, I have this I'm a sensitive little soul at times, but road racing just, I don't know. I don't know if I love it. I don't know. But it makes me a little bit emotional when I watch it. And I remember, and I put this in a little piece that I wrote when we came out in 2018. We were on the Friday, we were up here and watching the riders come down, and you get one, at the time it's just one mechanic per rider.
Yeah.
Into the first part, and then through into the part where you go off on your own.
Yeah.
And I can see it now as clear as day. There's you and your dad.
Yeah.
And he gave you a hug.
Yeah.
And he set you off. And I couldn't speak for a little while. Because it was dad and lad, and because I knew you and I knew your dad, and I was just looking, and it was like, what's going on? What is this?
If you ever notice as well, my TT hat, which I always wear, when I'm out on track, my dad has that on his head. That is one of the little rituals that we have.
Yeah.
So when I put my helmet on, I put my hat on his head, and that's all come from when I set off for me newcomer's lap. I had nowhere to put my hat on, so I stuck it on my dad's head.
And he keeps his head warm as well, because he hasn't got the hair that you've got. You've definitely got your mum's hair.
The weather in 2016, though, even in the pit stop when he wears overalls and the mask, he puts my hat on over the top of the mask.
Brilliant. That's one for the listeners to keep an eye on. That's for sure. That's something special. And that's the bond as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he's been with you every step of the way.
Yeah.
And as the family do and the sponsors do, works, and as you do now, because you're at that age, works every hour God sends, and all the money that you have, spare or otherwise, goes into your racing. Yeah. Because otherwise you don't get to do your passion.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts as you sat up on the start line? And I've asked the same question of Craig Neve. As we've been here the last couple of days, I've been up on the start, and I've made a big thing on the off-track socials of that tap on the shoulder. You don't get that anywhere else.
No.
And that's another thing for me that just epitomizes the whole event. It's almost like it's a double-edged sword for me, and I'll ask you your thoughts in a minute, because it feels like I'm rambling, but I'm just building the picture. Of that tap on the shoulder, it's almost like an away you go, son. But there's also a little bit of reassurance in it as well. It's like, go on, son, off you go. Yeah. What's it like for you sat there and with the hand on the shoulder ready?
When I pull up to the start line, when you go through to where it's only the bikes and riders, obviously you've got 4 bikes in front of you and then the person setting off. So I'm just watching everybody set off down Bray Hill. And then what I always do, when I'm the next one up, I will always get to the line as quick as I can. So I can sit there, he's got his hand on my shoulder, and I can focus on just setting off. Yeah. And what's coming at the top of St. Ninians, going down Bray Hill, I go sleep, and I'm just, sort of playing that over in my head.
So you're visualising while you sat there where you're going and what you do?
Yeah.
Is that how you complete a lap? Are you always maybe half a sector ahead, something like that? You sort of anticipating what's coming?
Yeah. I even went out for a lap with Lauren in the van the other day. And just mainly like a reassurance to me, because I've not raced here since 2019, as with everyone else. So I came over on the Friday, and then Lauren came over on the Saturday. And when we went out for a lap in the van, I was sort of talking for a lap out loud, but I was saying 3, 4, 5 corners ahead. Yeah. And where I'm wanting to be on the road, and
a little bit like rally pace notes. Yeah. You're kind of talking yourself through the lap as it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like that.
Sort of trying, just from memory, trying to point out, there's like into Crosby, there's 3 grids on the road, and I was tipping between the second and the third one. And so as I'm approaching it, before I can even see it, I'm saying what I'm looking for, and just reassuring myself with my knowledge. Obviously, in preparation for the first day of practice on the Sunday.
And what was that like after 3 years away?
It was really good, other than I had a little bit of an issue.
We have to tell the story,
Yeah.
Josh. We have to tell the story.
Yeah.
I've already had a chat with Uncle Paul
Yeah.
about what he found.
Yeah. So basically, coming through Carramore section, it goes left, then right, then left, and there's a jump on the exit. Only I'd gone over a jump, not quite square. The back end's come around to the left hand side, and then as it's landed, I've gone onto the seat, and I don't know how to refer to this in this podcast, but
Say it as you see it, mate.
Yeah,
We're all grown-ups.
I landed square onto both bollocks, and
I shouldn't laugh, I'm sorry.
The sudden sick feeling you get in your stomach after getting a whack there. I had my breath held between obviously that section there and Glen Tram, and couldn't hold my breath any longer. And when I took my first gasp of breath, a little bit of sick came up.
A little bit?
The little bit of sick, it was almost like it siphoned my stomach with how much water we'd been drinking throughout the day, obviously hydrating yourself. It just went everywhere, all inside my visor. It wasn't like the most pleasant experience I've had.
I can imagine. Uncle Paul said he found, was it 250 mil in the belly pan?
Yeah, something like that.
It's just incredible. But what I mean, it's not the. I know we can smile about it essentially, but it's not the welcome back to the TT that you wanted, because then it obviously curtailed a couple of laps.
Yeah.
For the rest of the evening.
Yeah.
And obviously still a little bit painful on Monday as well. Probably still a little bit painful now, I would think.
Yeah.
But. And as Lauren sat here now, it's a good job the old baby maker worked before, isn't it?
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way, for both of you.
Thank you.
Last night, what did you get in last night?
I got 2 laps on 1,000 and 2 laps on a 600.
So that's really the first full night, feeling reasonably good.
Yeah.
And getting some good laps in.
Yeah.
Talk us through it. What was it like?
First lap, obviously we that superbike, I went out on Sunday, and I don't know if it was just me being new to the TT again.
Yeah.
Obviously, after 3 years off, didn't feel overly that comfortable. I think I did, was it 112 I did on Sunday. Kept that bike down in the awning for Monday night's practice. And I went out on the Superstock bike on the Monday and got up to 116 on that. Still didn't feel overly that comfortable through the bumpy sections. I was thinking it must have got bumpier. And then obviously we spoke to Phil Biggs, and he advised us which way to go with settings. I thought, I'll go out, give it a go. If I'm still not comfortable, I'll come in, try something else, go out for another lap. First lap, 118 mile an hour. Felt comfortable, just building back into it again. Second lap was 119.9, and like I say, it didn't feel effortless, but it felt easier than what 119 felt in 2019.
Which is great. So there's plenty more to come from the bike and for you as you get comfortable on it, without a doubt. Is that that's James's old superbike?
Yeah, Superstock bike.
Superstock bike. So in that case, that's the one that won the Superstock race at the Northwest now?
Yeah.
So there's good pedigree in there.
Yeah.
You need to up your game, son.
Yeah. Well, we bought my first 1,000 off Bournemouth.
Okay.
And Pete put a note on the bike saying, this bike is capable of 132 mile an hour. No excuses, Josh.
No pressure, mate.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Have you managed to have the tank panelled out now from your dints?
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes away the volume of the tank now. You can't get as much fuel in it.
Well, funnily enough, the bike didn't even surge on the second lap yesterday.
Oh, really?
We still took 3.5 litres out of the bike. So
fueling's fine then.
Yeah.
Excellent. The thing is, you realise what you're doing as you sat here talking about the bike, don't you? You're taking everything away from the bike and putting it on you.
Yeah, yeah, it's all down to me.
What's the plan for tonight, then, mate? We've got we're a bit later tonight, aren't we? We're 7 o'clock, and we've got an hour and 10. I think all three classes are out together, aren't they? Superstock, Superbike, and Supersport. It's Wednesday as we sat here now. The podcast will go out later on. Hopefully, I'll get it out tonight, actually, which would be really relevant for people listening. What's the plan for this evening? What are we looking at?
We'll probably go out and do another 2 laps on a Superbike, and then come in, swap bikes onto the Superstock bike, so we're not waiting around for refueling, and hopefully get another 2 laps on the Superstock bike. Just depends on what the timing is, because obviously I'm setting off a bit further down the field. Yeah. So if I can get 2 laps in on both bikes, I'm more than happy with that.
With your times for this year, as we go into race week next week, and we'll be, once we get probably Saturday and Monday's races out of the way, we'll be doing a little bit of a chat show in the Rich Club. So anybody listening who's over on the island next week for race week, we've got the Rich Club set up opposite Scrutineering. We're looking out over the grandstand and the control tower. We will be doing 4 or 5 live chat shows next week, but we'll advertise those on social media. But just keep an eye out if you're coming across. Come and have a chat with Josh, as he is now, as we're sat here outside the Rich Club now. And if you've got any questions, come and join in, because the questions always seem better coming from the floor than me, because I can't control the questions.
Yeah.
You get some rare old questions coming in at that point, so that would be good fun. Just ahead of race week, what are your expectations as a rider and as a team?
My first sort of aim that I've got is just to qualify. Not really got any lap times in my mind or anything. I just want to build, and by the end of next week I'd like to be going faster than I was in 2019, because obviously that's personal progression then, and
of course it is.
Obviously I'm improving.
What's your PB lap time at the minute?
122 mile an hour from the standing start in the senior in 2019.
Excellent.
The next lap would have been faster coming into the pits, but I ran on coming into the nook and lost 30 seconds coming into the pits.
Hang on, 37.7 miles circuit, and you do your biggest whoopsie in the last half a mile?
Yeah.
Bugger. Okay, well, we're not doing that again, will you?
Hopefully not.
That's part of the learning curve, isn't it? Seeing as it's your first time on the podcast, I have 2 questions that I finish every podcast with. And if you've listened to the podcast, you'll know what the questions are. First one, what's your favourite corner and why?
Favourite corner or favourite section?
No, whichever. As a road racer, you can have favourite section, I don't mind. My
favourite section is... I've always said this since TT 2016. My favourite section is between Rencullen and Bath. Okay. Just because it's fast, flat, 5th gear, 6th gear, through Bishop's Court, through Alpine. And that's the biggest buzz when you're underneath the trees and you go in that fast, and you always get a good wheelie coming out onto Bishop's Court.
You get that strobe effect, especially this time of year when we're racing later in the evening and the sun's dropping. You get the strobe effect through the trees.
Yeah,
that must be a bit special.
Funnily enough,
or distracting, one of the two.
When I'm driving around at work, I probably overthink things way too much.
Welcome to the club.
When I'm driving around at work, when I'm driving up the motorway, obviously there's nothing you can do there is stuff that you can do to train your eyes, but if it's sunny and I've got the sun in my eyes, I don't bother putting the sun visor down, because I can't do that at the TT.
No.
So I try and train my eyes looking into the sun and being able to focus on, say, the cars in front, and if I can focus on the cars in front, that'll help me a little bit better at the TT.
Brain training.
With the sun in my eyes, yeah.
I like that. That's good. You're not giving all your secrets away now, mate. That's it.
Like I say, I overthink things way too much.
Not at all. Well, I don't think you can doing this. I don't think you can, because if you don't think about it, there's too much at stake.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of overthinking things around here.
Yeah.
Because I mean that you're born and brought up with it. The respect is obvious, but you absolutely have to. The people that have gone before you, the teams that have gone before you. It's like while we're here, we haven't come in and as the Rich Energy team, we're going to do this, that, and the other. Because yes, James has done 60 starts and 56 finishes on a different manufacturer, but it's our first as a team. and Honda are over there, Paget's are over the back there, the FHO, or Smith's Racing, Hickey himself, Dean Harrison, they've all achieved everything here. But as a team, it's our first one, so we just got to come in, we'll do a job and see what we get. If we can get a couple of silver replicas, then fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to look at it. We're not going to come in saying, we're going to do this, that and the other. We might be leading the British Championship at BSB, but this is a whole different ballgame, baby.
Yeah, that's it. The 6-lap races are 226 miles. And in the past, there has been times where somebody's retired on lap 5 or lap 6 for a 2-pence wire that's broke. It's a big strain on the rider, it's a big strain on the bike. Anything can happen in them near on 2 hours that we're racing for.
Can. And it is the ultimate man and machine, but the ultimate aim is to finish. Where you finish is out of your control.
Yeah,
is what it feels like to me. Is you do your best lap time, and where that lap time puts you, fantastic. But you can't aim for, I'm 20th at the minute, like on the short circuits. I want to finish 18th, so I'm going to get him and him.
Yeah,
it's so uniquely personal.
I think with a TT as well, the riders get all the glory and everything, but there's just as much glory comes from the mechanics. They've put the bike underneath a rider to be able to do what they've done.
Absolutely right. The pride that they have and the pressure that they're under, for me, is equal to the pressure you're under to get round in the fastest time and the best physical shape. The pressure that they have to make sure that that's lock wired, that's done, that's tight, that's done, it's fueled, to give you everything you need. For me, it's the same level of pressure.
Yeah.
To get you back home in one piece.
Yeah. If not more, because when we're out having all the fun,
I'm not bigging the mechanics up.
they're sat in the parc ferme or on the pit wall or wherever they are, and they don't know.
It's right. It'll be a little bit different this year because we can keep an eye on the live time. You can listen to the radio. The TT organisers done an amazing job with TT Plus. There isn't as much waiting around when things happen. Word gets back fair quickly. Do you carry a phone with you?
Yes.
Just a thought. I know quite a few riders do. And I just wondered if you did. It's just that thing that people don't often realise, that you got the phone, so just a quick message back.
It's only a little Nokia. And
doesn't matter, does it?
When
play Snake while he sat on the wall waiting.
Well, that's what I was doing when I was at Parliament Square. I was just playing Snake to pass the time.
Brilliant. So where did you go on Monday night? Where did you end up?
We got stopped up at Keppelgate.
Oh, okay.
So. Yeah, I'd like to thank the marshals for making us a coffee and giving us a Rocky biscuit as well.
There you go, marshals at Keppelgate. Yeah. Thank you very much for looking after Josh. Who else? Michael was up there with you, Michael Rutter. Was that one?
No, but it was me, Xavier Dennis,
okay,
Nathan Harrison and Dave Jackson.
Okay, so a good crew.
Yeah.
Just chatting about where you've been and what you're doing and doing all the hand movements and all that kind of thing that you boys do.
That's it, we just talk bollocks, don't we?
It's kind of my polite way of saying that.
Yeah.
Do you know what the last question is on the podcast?
I do know you always ask 2 questions, but I've got a terrible memory.
What's your best hire car story?
I don't think I've got one.
Some do, some don't.
Probably. Came over here doing laps. I can't remember what year it was. And there was me, my dad, Bill and Ant who came over. And it was foggy over a mountain all day. So I was driving, obviously. I always end up knackered. You know, if I'm a passenger in a car, I end up really, really tired. If I'm driving and you're actually concentrating, I'm fine. I can drive for however long you want me to drive for. But as a passenger, I end up really, really tired. So I was driving, and because it was foggy over a mountain and you wasn't really learning much over a mountain, my dad, Bill and Ant said, we'll do a pub crawl on the TT course. Obviously, I was driving, so I wasn't drinking. So I stopped at all the pubs on the TT course and got to Ramsey Erpin on the last lap that we was doing that day, and it was clear. It was clear. It was dark. So this little 1 litre Fiesta Fiesta EcoBoost.
The EcoBoost, yeah.
Surprisingly quick.
4 up.
Yeah.
5 up.
So
4 up.
4. So I came out of Ramsey Erpin and I said, "Oh, have you seen that?" He It's clear. Next minute, 2 seatbelts in the back, buckled up. It went over a mountain. And my dad was tipping into 32nd, I think it was. I was on the right-hand side of the road. Obviously, I could see nothing was coming with my headlights coming the other way. And my dad was like, I'd be rolling off here. I'd be braking here. And must have tipped into 32nd at about 110 mile an hour. In the dark, in a little 1 litre Fiesta.
You see, you have got a higher car story.
Yeah.
32nd, is that 3 lefts?
Yes.
I'm getting good at this.
You only go in for the last 2.
Yeah, first one you don't.
Just before Windy Corner.
Yeah, and then down for the right-hander at Windy Corner.
Yeah.
But you can nearly bottom the Fiesta out through there, because there's a little bit of compression through there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Oh man, I sound like I know what I'm talking about.
That's it, you'll be doing TT next year.
No, I won't. No chance. There's a reason why you boys and girls do it, and I just talk about it. Yeah. Same as short circuit stuff. I know my limits. This furry microphone, that's as good as I get. Brilliant. Josh Daley, thank you so much for joining us, mate. One absolute pleasure.
Right, thank you very much.
We'll catch up with you next week. And Lauren's been sat there all quiet. I was going to bring you in, but I thought, I'll give you a bit of a heads up next time, because all of a sudden you get a microphone thrust at you and you sort of go, oh, and you don't know what to say. But maybe we'll have a bit of a chat at some point and see it from a partner's perspective, because it's usually all about you guys, but especially with cooking Baba on the way as well. He's all a little bit different this year, isn't it? So let's have a look and see what we can do next week. But Josh, thank you so much, mate, and best of luck for the rest of the week.
Thank you very much. Cheers.